anime, so the game has a few minor bugs.
Sword Art Online Progressive is the latest improvement on the popular story, but it is still a hot mess. Awesome. Alright, all hands on deck, people. Computer guy. That intro was good, but people don't like looking at my stupid face, or anyone's stupid face for anime reviews.
Sometimes things that are expensive are worse.
Wow.
So anyway, I suck both their dicks.
Did you do the monologue?
Alright. Then camera is the camera even looking at me? And it doesn't matter. Go get some footage of the actual book. Says is in one of his Vlog Brothers videos. Fuck this.
Every draft of a work can have a completely different story. John Green accounted in his Vlog Brothers video that it took 12 years to write The Fault in Our Stars, and it went through several iterations until it finally came out to a female narrator and a love story, but several of the key elements were there from the beginning. In The Great Gatsby, the titular Great Gatsby's symbol of the guiding light of green did not exist until his editor suggested it. In Looking for Alaska, another John Green book, it was always about a boy in a private school, but everything changed from like characters' names to the illustration of the maze. So what's this have to do with Sword Art Online?
Sword Art Online Progressive comes after a long line of anime.
Sword Art Online started as a light novel series, and is now 2 light novel series, a soon-to-be 3rd season anime, a movie, and 5 video games. The creator and writer of SAO, Reki Kawahara, writes all of the SAO stories in light novels, and those are transferred to other forms of media, but he's also writing Excel World and The Isolator. The premise of Sword Art Online is people are stuck in a video game, a massive multiplayer online game that uses the person's blank.
And they get trapped because they're not playing on their computer, they're playing in their brains. The computer sends things to their brains, and their bodies are immobilized, and if they try to remove their helmets, they die. If they die in the game, they die.
So an entire community on day 1 gets trapped inside of their full dive MMO.
The series, up until now, has really been a mixed bag, which has endeared itself to its audience, but has several shortcomings
because of underdeveloped ideas, plot holes, lackluster characters, and some despicable, disconnected story turns. What is interesting about SAO Progressive is that it is technically a spin-off of the main series, and at least the 4th draft or reimagining of the story. The original novel covers content in 7 out of the 12 episodes of the anime. If you don't know the original story of SAO, Reki was writing SAO for a short story contest, but spent too much time developing something in the middle, so he put a surprise ending boss early. Although he missed the end of the contest date and technically had too many words to qualify, it seems that that's still the SAO story that was published as a light novel.
So, if I were writing Sword Art Online, the point of the 2nd draft would be to take the kernel of what is good about the story and develop it and explore it, because that's what we want in our stories. Like, we want to see big action pieces, but we want them to have emotions behind them.
Some revisions started in the 2nd novel, as it was called Side Stories, and seemed to go back inside the Anchored arc and talk about stories of Elizabeth and the Moonlit Black Cats, which were used to pad out the anime. The problem remained that the extra padding was always extra, and never quite gelled. That and all of the problems were solved by Kirito being overpowered, and made SAO seem like a harem show. Because SAO is so loved by so many fans, there are a lot of fan theories and headcanons that people use to try to make the show better. One popular headcanon is that the show should just be a video game, and should just look at everything floor by floor, day by day, the slice of life of people trapped in a video game. Which we almost get in Progressive, Another sticking point for analysts is the crappy protagonist Kirito. Progressive answers this flaw by giving us the character of Asuna, who is a much more well-rounded character in the series, and much more fan-liked, but she's even fleshed out more in Progressive. What gives me a mixed sense of hope is that all of the ragtag character elements propped up throughout the anime series is front-loaded in SAO Abridged. Asuna's mother issues takes screen 1, which is a little ham-handed for me, but it interests readers that aren't familiar with the Mother's Rosary arc. Asuna is very reactive to the world around her. She's sad, hopeful, surprised, happy, and goal-oriented, which is what you want in a protagonist that SAO was sadly lacking in the beginning. Though, if you want to see the best rendition of Sword Art Online, it's still the SAO Abridged, which took all the flaws of SAO and shaped it into like a cohesive little story that's so amazing that there are analysis videos on an Abridged series.
The story ideas that are here clash with what is fun or potentially fun about the show.
By fun, I mean interesting misery, which for people is fun. I mean fun. What a good show does is establish a premise and explore that by pushing the logic of it. The original airing of SAO, they establish a premise but neglect to explore it by episode 3 or 4, arguably by episode 2. In the original Sword Art Online show, the tension is gone by the time Kirito gets attacked by a gang of people that can't even get his HP to drop. The plot armor is also strong in Progressive. The threat of death is not done very well. The first thing that happens, once a flashback of Asuna and her mother is over, Asuna gets attacked by a monster and fails to fight her, and a shadowy cloak Kirito swoops in! Ex Machina. The only named character that has died in Progressive has been the same raid boss character that died in the show. Players are inexperienced, sloppy, or busy arguing, but no one gets punished for it. Not even characters that clearly aren't paying attention get punished for it. Or killed. No one dies!
In the current arc of the manga, the story element of an evolving quest engine is brought into the front. If you recall, that came into effect during the Excalibur dicking around weird third-ish season of the show, also known as the most boringest one. In it, Kirito and Asuna come across two NPCs fighting, and Kirito explains that they need to help one.
The element immediately demystified by Kirito, who wants to fucking explain everything, who expositions about how everything works in the game, and how instances work, and tells Asuna what to do. Nothing of the lore of the game is important.
Nothing in the lore of Aincrad is important. Nothing in the lore of Aincrad is important.
The only NPCs in the story so far have been shopkeepers, and I'm using "in the story" generously, and one quest giver that took away all of Asuna's weapons. There aren't any aspects of the story that are not introduced in the same chapter or arc, and every element ceases to be important at the end of its arc. Why should we really care about NPCs when there are real people that are dying? Even if the lore were to hold some kind of a lore, some kind of a chance to make up for the missing death elements, Kirito ruins it by explaining how the writer thinks programmers talk. So everything is as boring as possible. Even if these are meant to be a series of vignettes about life inside a game or the experience of the game, they lack all thematic consistency. In Progressive, there is a group of inexperienced adventurers who run a gold scam in order to buy the best gear in the game. It's available so far so that it can leapfrog themselves to the front line. We are told that their inexperience is evident, but that fact exists as a clue to the stupid mystery of the stupid arc, but does nothing to show just how dangerous the front line is. The paranoia of a death game isn't waiting around underneath, behind every corner. It's just an action story. When Asuna and Kirito leave the boss room to meet enemies, they do nothing to play it safe and risk their lives, and they are rescued. The more I think about this series, the worse it gets. There isn't enough good. There isn't enough interesting. There isn't enough tension. The only thing going for this series is some meh fan service and nostalgia for a relationship that won't come to any kind of completion until floor 87. 78. Whatever. I didn't bother to fact check because fuck it. Just fuck it. You know or you don't care. Possibly some people could write off some of the mess by looking at it as a slice of life, but that is dumb. The Progressive manga jumps around just as much as the original story. The 2,000 people who die in the first 2 months skipped. All of the hard lessons about why certain things are rules for people to keep them safe skipped. The Great Migration, when people's avatars stood still because they were being transported to hospitals, where they could be sustained and drip-fed while they play a stupid game, skipped. And the ramifications for what that means for everyone is also skipped. The people who were alone and never found to take the hospital and starved to death, skipped. Other imaginative aspects of being trapped in MMO are also missing. Like, how cramped could the first floor city's safe zones be when all the players are afraid to die? In a place that wasn't made for players to be stuck in. It was made for players to go everywhere. Why that? What about what happens when a new player logs in because they want the challenge of a death game MMO? But that skipped. They could have so many more storylines that they could fit in Progressive, but it's not my job to come up with them, and apparently it's no one else's either.
What really might blow the piss out of my argument, or like forward thinking motion, maybe to the credit, because Ricky Kawahara seems to be inept when it comes to story, is that Sword Art Online Progressive isn't even being written by Ricky Kawahara. As far as I can tell, the artist Hemura Kasiki is the one doing all of the work in that he's doing all the work. He's writing it. He's rewriting Sword Art Online. And this is a doujin artist, and that's how a lot of people break through into the world, but it doesn't seem to be doing a great lot of improvement despite being in the, world of criticism and fan art and hearing how things backlash. I don't know if Sword Art Online has as much of a backlash in Japan as it does here on American YouTube. So I don't know if being in new hands is better than being in the hands of incompetent people. I don't know how incompetent these people really are. I don't know if maybe they just don't care. I assume he does care because it is the biggest thing with his name attached to it. So it's just not that good.
So it isn't even in the competent hands of Ricky Kawahara, but is still an extremely flawed show.
The more flaws show up, the more you think about it, the more I think about it. It's disjointed. It's mostly disappointment. Sometimes expensive things are worse.
Why is he wearing a laptop though? Why is he wearing a lab coat? He makes games. He makes games. Why is he wearing a lab coat? You're not spilling shit on yourself when you're making games. Does Miyamoto? Miyamoto game designer in lab coat. Let me just... No lab coat. What the fuck is this? That's not Miyamoto. That's not Miyamoto. This isn't Miyamoto. I don't want to click on this. This seems wrong. No, wrong. Wrong.